Awesome. Welcome to our Friday edition of our Next Gen Nurses free webinar series. I am so excited that you're here. My name is Jennifer Bonner. I am a certified nurse midwife with 15 years of nursing experience. I have been in education for 4 years now. I've been with Archer for 2 years, and I serve as the tutor team lead here at Archer Review. So I am just delighted that you guys are here with me this afternoon, regardless of where you are. Regardless of where you are in this journey through the NCLEX, I am hoping that you will be able to glean some tips and tricks from us today as we talk about what does this look like, this big NCLEX. We talk about it all through nursing school, but okay, practically, what do we do here? And so I've seen that several of you have already put in questions there, and we are going to go through these. But the first thing is I want to know, and I'm sure if you've ever been with us during one of our presentations, you're going to know the first question I have, which is, where are you joining us from? So you can either join us by going into slido.com, entering in the code NCLEX101, or you can take your smart device and go ahead and scan that QR code right there on your screen and tell me, where are you joining me from? I see Canada, New Orleans. I am in South Dakota. We are getting some kind of windstorm today. I see New Jersey, Maryland, England, Orlando, Saskatchewan, Colorado. Hey, we're neighbors, kind of. Florida, England, welcome. Canada, Fort Lauderdale, Chile, Texas, Manchester, Philadelphia, Arizona. Awesome. Tanzania. Wow. So if you notice, we have students joining us from all over the globe, which is pretty remarkable if you ask me. There's this thing that brings us together, even though we may be in different parts of the world, and we all know we are in different time zones, and that is nursing. So let's talk about what it is that we're going to talk about today during our time together. And that's a little bit of everything that encompasses the NCLEX. So we're going to talk about what happens before the exam, what happens on exam day, during the exam, and afterwards. So we are going to talk through all of these things, and I'm sure you have questions. So we're going to start from the beginning, as Mary Poppins says, is a very good place to start. So we're going to talk about what to do before the exam. Now, tell me in Slido, do you have your exam scheduled already? And if so, when is it scheduled? When are you scheduled to take the NCLEX? When are you planning to take the NCLEX? March 25th, tomorrow. Oh my word, we are cheering you on. Go get it. April 17th, May 23rd, not yet. That's okay. 10 days, April 1st. Is that a joke? April Fools. Hoping for 331, April 7th. We have a lot of April dates. I see several tomorrows. That's awesome. So excited for you guys. Please, when you find out your pass, please send us an email. Let us know. We'd love to celebrate with you. We do a little happy dance. We send out emails to everybody on the NCLEX team letting them know that you passed, and we all celebrate with you. Awesome. April, March 18th, April 28th. Fabulous. So, regardless of when your NCLEX is, we should be studying, right? Or if it's tomorrow, today is the day that you take off. Enjoy your family, go do something that you really enjoy. But what if you're like Jennifer? I don't know. I don't know how to study, when to study, what to study. I have something for you. Our SurePass combo is by far the number one thing that I recommend for students getting ready to take their NCLEX for the first time. Why? Well, we have on-demand videos for just about any topic you can imagine. We have a Q bank with thousands of questions, and we have our 3-day live review. This is recommended for students right before they get ready to take their NCLEX. So what we do is we have 3 days. It's usually the first Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of the month. And we do a 7-hour-a-day review of those high-yield NCLEX topics. So if you're not sure where to start, if you're struggling, please check out these options. We have the QR code on the left there is for RN. The one on the right is for PN. Go ahead, see what the hype is all about. Y'all, you will not be disappointed. Okay, so let's say you are ready to get this NCLEX road on and you're not really sure how to start that process. Well, we're going to talk about how do you apply. This is really a two-step process. So the first step is you're going to apply to your board of nursing, okay, where you're wanting to be licensed. So for me in South Dakota, I would apply to the South Dakota State Board of Nursing. And then you're going to go register for the NCLEX on Pearson VUE. Now, for that, you're going to need a program code, and that is going to be active for 365 days. Okay, 365 days. Now, what do you do in the meantime? We usually recommend at least 6 weeks of studying after graduation. Now, you'll know that if you go into the Archer Review um, website, you're going to find that there are 3 different study plans. There's a 3 week that's out there. We don't recommend that one very often. And there's a 6 week. A 6 week is meant for students who are just graduating. It goes through all of those high yield topics, those things that you're going to need. And then we have a 12 week. A 12 week is what we recommend for those who have been out of school for a while, the repeat test takers. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to take those readiness assessments and you're going to pretend like it's NCLEX day. You're going to take it at the same time that you're planning to take your NCLEX. You're going to try different environments. Why would I do that? Well, because I want you to get used to different distractions. Now, while your room may be quiet, there may be somebody that dropped their pencil, or maybe the person that's watching, maybe their water fell over. So I want you to be used to those types of sounds. And also go to the dollar store, get yourself a whiteboard and start to use that. Now you're going to get a whiteboard on exam day and we'll talk more about that later, but I want you just getting used to that idea. Okay, Jennifer. So you told me I need to apply for my state board of nursing and then I need to register with the NCLEX. What is this ATT? Well, the ATT is your authorization to test. Now, after your state board determines that you are indeed eligible and they're like, yes, I want you to go take this exam, they're going to send you that ATT by email. Okay. Now, you're going to need this in order to schedule your appointment to actually take your NCLEX. Something that's very important about this code is it's valid for about 90 days. Each state is a little bit different, but good news. When they send you that email, it's going to have the expiration date on it. This is going to have your authorization number, your candidate identification number, and the expiration date. Do not lose those. And these cannot be extended for any reason. So if you're getting ready, let's say it expires next week, I would want you to try to take that. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, go give it a try, because once it expires, you can't be renewed. Now, someone is asking, what about foreign nurses being from Colombia? Well, there's a couple things that I would recommend, and this is an excellent opportunity to talk about this. Small group tutoring is a great opportunity to get some of those, excuse me, those sticky subjects kind of nailed down. Typically, these groups are about 25 students or less, and it's a very similar environment to what we're doing here, where you're able to interact with the instructor. You can ask questions along the way. The other thing that I recommend is following that 12-week study plan. If you are a nurse that's graduated a while ago and getting ready to take the NCLEX, I recommend using that 12-week study plan and then getting some small group tutoring, private tutoring as you need. I hope that answers your question. If not, please go ahead and put that back in the chat for me or the Q&A. Someone is asking, do we need to bring our ATT on testing day? Nope. You just need that in order to schedule your exam. Okay. So many of you are already in this. You are the week before the exam. 1 week before your exam, I want you to get used to that routine. So if you normally wake up at 5 a.m., then I want you to go ahead and wake up at 5 a.m. on testing day, even if you're testing later on in the day. Okay. I want you to take a 24 hours off before your exam. Just go relax, go have ice cream, go get a mani-pedi, go get a massage, whatever it is that you want to do. But I recommend that you take that day off. Now somebody asked, how do I know if I'm ready to take the test based on readiness assessments? Now, typically we recommend 4 or 5 highs or very highs that are consecutive and getting through that the Q bank before you go ahead and test. So that's a great way to know if you're ready. If you're getting 4 or 5 highs or very highs in a row and getting through that Q bank, go take your exam. Now, during that first week, right before your NCLEX, I want you to figure out what are your 3 weakest areas. If one of those happens, excuse me, happens to be adult health, what specific area is it? Is it respiratory? Is it cardiac? What is it? And narrow those down. And I want you to take one full day to study each of those areas. So 1 day for respiratory, 1 day for endocrine, if those happen to be your top 3 week areas. Now, good news. If you go into your dashboard under your study calendars, you're going to find a week before the exam study plan. And that is just goes through those high yield topics that you are most likely to see. Someone is asking, what's a high? This is how our readiness assessments are graded. So when you take a readiness assessment, you're going to get a low, a borderline, a high, a very high, and that tells you your likelihood of passing when we put them together. That's kind of how we use that determination. Now, once you have gone through and looked at your weak areas, I want you to take 2 days for just an overall review. Now, like I said, the day before your exam, I don't want you to do anything. I want you to take the day off. But if you're like me and you feel like you just have to do something, you can look through your labs, look through your electrolytes, and then anything that still feels a little bit sticky to you, go ahead and review that. Now, someone said if you graduated December 24, what schedule should I use? I would recommend that 6 week study plan. I think that would be totally fine. So the week before the exam guide, it goes through all of those high yield topics and it's in your Archer dashboard under your study calendars. Okay, so we have finally made it to exam day. Okay, now if you've made it to exam day and you're anything like me, you might struggle with something called test anxiety. Now tell me, anybody with me struggling with test anxiety? You can use the raise your hand feature. You can jump into Slido. Anybody with me? I am definitely a test taking anxiety person. When the day that I took my NCLEX, I was shaking. The day I took my midwifery boards, I was shaking. That is how we roll. Someone is asking between the CAT exams and the readiness assessments, which do you recommend? We definitely recommend those readiness assessments, but your CAT exams are also important. But when we base or we try to determine if you're ready or not, we're looking at those readiness assessments. Great question. Normally not, but probably for the NCLEX, get more nervous about the language. Absolutely. So test taking anxiety is something that's really normal, especially on these high stakes tests. So it's important that we understand that's something we might be prone to and do all the things that we can in order to combat that. So one thing is figure out where you're going. So anybody ever been where you're having to be maybe at an interview at let's say 12:30 and it's 12:15 and you're like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I want you to know where it is that you're supposed to go. If you are taking your exam at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, sometime during that week before your exam, I want you to drive like it is test day. I want you to know where you're going. I want you to make sure that you know if there's any construction going on. Just take a test drive. Pretend like you're in labor and you're going to find the hospital. Okay. I want you to leave anything that you don't need at home or in your car. Now, take your phone, but leave it in the car. Smartwatches in the car. You take your keys. I want you to take your identification, a water bottle, and maybe a high protein snack, but definitely check with your testing center to make sure that's appropriate. Okay. So remember, when you have your ID, it has to match the name that you registered with. So let's say I registered in December, I got married in January, but I registered under my maiden name. My ID has to match my maiden name. Whatever name you provided during that registration, that ID has to match. Okay. They're going to do a palm vein scan. So it's really important that we know kind of what to expect because that helps to decrease our anxiety, right? So they're going to do a palm vein scan. And what they do is that just kind of helps them know, kind of maintain that test integrity. Okay, so they scan the veins inside your hand. It creates a digital template that represents your unique vein pattern. And so what you do is you put your hand on the device that has that sensor. It's going to record that pattern on a digital template. Okay. Someone is asking, is there a dress code? Is there a clothing restriction? So obviously, there you don't have to be dressed up. You can be comfy. I've seen and heard of students that go in leggings and a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. So I want you to be comfortable in whatever it is. Yes. So when you register, someone is asking about the account. When you register, whatever name you register under, your ID needs to match that. Okay? Very good. And then I want you to just have some big plans afterwards. So whatever happens, you have done some big work and it should be celebrated. So any questions about testing day or getting to the testing center? Okay. So what about testing? Well, there's a couple things that I want you to think about. If you don't know the answer, someone is asking, can I take a pen and pencil? You don't need one. They're going to give you everything you need in there. I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you do know? Think back to your test taking strategies. If you don't know test taking strategies, we have a great small group for that. So I want you to check that out. I want you to try to look at each answer one at a time. See if you can eliminate anything. And then choose your best answer based on your gut. You just need your ID is all. You don't need to bring your Pearson VUE ID. Okay. You may take bathroom breaks and we'll get to that here in just a minute. And then someone is asking, what time do they start? I'm not sure what your question is. I know if you're asking about the timeline for the testing center, those would be unique to each testing center. Okay. So take each question one at a time. I want you going in planning to take 150 questions. Each time you get a question, it's a new opportunity for you to show the NCLEX that you are ready, that you are nurse ready, and you've got this. You can get any number of questions. The test can shut off at any time once it is sure that you have passed or failed. But I want you to plan for that max, so that 150. And if it shuts off beforehand, that's just fine. Someone's asking, do they have lockers? Yes. Typically, they're going to have lockers for you. They will give you a calculator on the exam, so you don't need to bring a calculator. Yep. One ID is all you need. And yes, these questions are random. Someone was saying, is it true they randomly select test takers to take the full? Yeah, sometimes they do. There are occasions where some students get the total 150. Okay. Great questions. Okay, now someone asked about this before. What is it that we need to know about breaks during the exam? You're allowed to take breaks during the exam, but remember, the amount of time that you take on those breaks is going to count against your time. You have 5 hours total to take this exam. So I want you to make sure that you know what your testing center's policy is on this subject, what you can do, what you can't do during those breaks, what you need to do to get a break. Do you need to raise your hand? Do you need to scratch your head? I'm just kidding. That wouldn't be the signal. But what is it that you need to do? During your break, I don't want you looking at your phone, no study resources. I do not want you going out of that testing center. What I do want you to do is go get a drink, maybe do a couple of jumping jacks if you're feeling a little tired. Go to the bathroom, take some deep breaths. Here's one that's really important: positive self talk. Remind yourself you have studied for this day, you are ready. Now, we talked about private tutoring before, but let's say you're really struggling with, am I ready? What else do I need to do before testing day? Private tutoring is a great option. One of our private tutors can look into your specific account, see where your weak areas are, encourage you in those strong areas, encourage you in ways to bring those weak areas up. They can do it all. Each one of our tutors is amazing in all areas of NCLEX prep, but we do have a couple that are a little more specialized, let's say. So Elizabeth, she's great everywhere, but her big passion is women's health. Lauren Korth, again, great everywhere, but she is known for pharmacology. Kate, she's great everywhere, but she's known for her cardiac. Emma, she's a jack of all trades or a Jill of all trades, so you're not going to go wrong with one of our amazing tutors. So someone said, I'm actually getting my test in Nairobi. I'm flying from Nigeria. I would need my phone to get an Uber and to the venue. Yes, you can absolutely take it, but you're going to make sure that it's on silent. Now, we've been told of students that their phone was on vibrate. It continued to vibrate in the locker and they were actually told to leave the testing center. So I want you to make sure it's on silent or turned off. Someone is saying, I have a membership. Should I have a combo? So it just depends on which study plan you have. If you have specific questions, please don't send head, please don't hesitate. Send me an email at nclextutors@archerreview.com. All right. Yes. So someone is saying, I saw someone recommended to take a break at 85 questions. Absolutely. Go ahead, take that break at 85. I also recommend again between 100 and 125. Or if you feel like you are, needing a break beforehand, go ahead, take that break. Can you bring water and a snack to the actual testing station? Yes, you should be able to, but I would make sure with your specific testing center, what types of snacks are allowed or not allowed. Okay. So, someone's asking the difference between RN and PN. So there are a lot of differences. So think scope of practice. So that's going to be the big deal. If it's not within your scope of practice, you're not going to be tested on it. Someone is asking about private tutoring. Yes, it's $75 for an hour. If you schedule 3 or 6 or more, there's actually a discount. Very good. The NCLEX, you have 5 hours to take that exam. All right. So what about the actual NCLEX? So now we're in there, we're taking the exam. What is it that we need to be aware of? Well, there's a couple things. I don't want you brain dumping on your whiteboard. That's actually against the rules. So no just going in there and just dumping everything you can remember. I want you to know that when you start your test, you're just going to get some generic questions that's going to help you know how this testing is going to work. You can even do that tutorial at home if it makes you feel better. Take a deep breath, remind yourself you are capable, you are worthy, you have studied, and you are going to rock this exam. Now, how long is this test going to last? Well, remember, you have 5 hours to take this exam. You can get anywhere in between 85 and 150 items on your NCLEX. Now, what is the passing standard? The passing standard is that minimum level that you need to be at in order to provide safe and effective entry level nursing care. And they look at that every three years and kind of adjust it accordingly. In order to pass the NCLEX, you must be above the passing standard on all areas in order to pass. All areas um, you have to be above the passing standard in order to pass the exam. Okay, now what about NGN? Let me know in the chat, how do you feel about NGN items? So we also know that you're going to have NGN type questions. So kind of those case studies might have some drag and drop type situations. So I want you to make sure that you're prepared for those as well. Now, what about those pre-test items? These are unscored. Those do not count towards your score. That's just for you to get a feel of how things are going to work. You're going to be engaged in that computer adaptive technology testing. That's very similar to what we have here at Archer Review. And it's basically going to kind of adjust to your answers to estimate your ability with each testing item. And it's going to basically give you an opportunity to get the question right. So if you're not getting questions correct, it might give you a little bit less difficult of a question to help you kind of get back to where you should be. I don't want you self-evaluating during your exam. I remember when I took my NCLEX, there was a question, I was very confident of it. 2 questions later, I got a similar question. And then all of a sudden, yeah, you got it. I started self-evaluating. I'm like, wait a minute, I was certain I passed that one, but now I'm getting this again, so I must be failing. And then I did the snowball effect where everything was just awful. So I want you to remember each opportunity that you have to take a test question is a new opportunity. You're still in the game to show them you can do this and you are ready. Now let's talk more about this CAT testing. So we know that it's going to adjust to your ability on specific topics. So I want you to think about TikTok. What does TikTok do? Well, when you watch certain content, it's using this algorithm to give you more videos that you're most likely to watch based on that one that you watched already. Well, the NCLEX is really similar to that. It's going to adjust based on your testing abilities. Okay. Now, what are some things that you might see on the NCLEX? Well, it's really important that we understand terminology that they might use. Things like client instead of patient, an order. So this is something that's being directed by a primary healthcare provider. A prescription, we know what that is, right? Primary healthcare provider. That could be your doc, that could be your mid-level provider, could be your nurse midwife. You might see something like unlicensed assisted personnel. So those are things like our CNAs. You're also going to notice that there's some bolded key terms on the NCLEX, like immediately, highest. They're wanting to make sure that you don't miss those in order to be able to get those questions correct. So someone's asking, how can we find out exactly what we can bring to each specific station? You can just call your testing center and they should be able to help you. So someone is saying during the test, can I jot things down? Yes, absolutely. Brain dumping is where you go in and you start writing down every algorithm you can remember, every term that you can think of. That's brain dumping. You are not able to highlight on those NGN questions unless it specifically asks you to. And the NCLEX is going to ask for generic names and it's going to use generic names. That's a great question. And someone's asking, how many questions should I be doing in a day? This is really a good question. And that's why I really like our study plans because they actually outline it for you very well, letting you know when to take a CAT, when to take a readiness, how many questions to be doing in the day. All right. You are not able to mark questions to answer them later. You have to answer them in real time. And you are not able to go back to previous questions during the exam. Those are great questions. Okay, well, the computer shut off and we are officially after the exam. What's the first thing we're going to do? Take a deep breath. You have done it. And then it's going to feel like 2,000 years. I say just kidding, but sometimes it does feel that way. It might feel like a really long time that you're waiting for your scores. So, one thing that I want to remind you is that when you sign your name at that testing center, you're saying that you are not going to talk about the test questions, what you saw. I don't want you to post anything anonymous online. That can actually lead to you losing your nursing license. So, I want to make sure that you understand when you sign, that's what you're agreeing to. So, it doesn't matter if it's us. We don't want you telling us about the questions that you took because it's really important that we keep that testing integrity. So I definitely recommend getting a study plan. That's going to help you stay on track. Great question. Okay, so what about scores? Well, there's something called quick results, and those are available 2 days after you test, and that's through Pearson Review. Pearson View, there is a additional cost for that. I think it's like $7 to $10 to get your quick results. Your official results are available within that 6 week time period. So when I took my NCLEX, I was waiting, and it was uploaded into my state board of nursing with my RN number within 24 hours. I was actually at the dentist and I got a text from my husband that said, congratulations, here's your RN number. So I didn't even have to look. He was on it for me. All right. So we have just a couple minutes left. So what do you say we do some practice questions? Let's look at this one. The nurse in the ICU notes bleeding from the client's transparent dressing over her peripheral IV site, gum bleeding, frank blood in the urine. The client was originally admitted for sepsis. What should be the nurse's immediate next action? Are we going to assess the client's hemoglobin and hematocrit, check their oxygen saturation, apply pressure to the IV site, or call the physician? What do you think? So someone's asking how many questions do we recommend daily? Anywhere between 85 and 100, I think would be appropriate, depending on how you're studying. All you need for the testing center is your ID. Okay, I'm seeing some great answers. If your scores are fluctuating from your readiness exams, I would recommend reaching out to one of our private tutors. It's hard for us to do a deep dive without really looking into your specific account and seeing, what might be happening. So I would recommend a private tutor. Um, Eventually, your state board of nursing will list your license on their website because employers are looking for that verification. I don't know how long it will take for them to list those. Great questions. Okay, if you answered letter D, you are correct. So what's going on with our client? We have DIC. That's a huge deal, right? So we need to get that position there right away. Excellent job. Okay, so we have 1 minute left. If you have any last minute questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Remember, regardless of where you are, if you're getting ready to go into nursing school, you're in nursing school, you're preparing for the NCLEX, or you're getting ready to take your NP boards, we have a place for you. Please go ahead, scan this QR codes. We are developing an amazing community for you here. We are cheering you on. We want to walk with you through these struggles. So please, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you just want to share with us that you passed, please don't hesitate to send us an email at nclextutors@archerreview.com and we will get back to you. Someone was asking why we didn't apply pressure. Well, in that situation with DIC, we have blood coming from several sites, right? So this is an emergent situation and we need to get that physician there very, very quickly. Someone is asking a secret for SATA questions. Turn each option, each answer option into a true or false question. That's a really great way to do those. A place to keep your bags. Yep, you're going to have a locker there or an area to place your belongings. So your ATT, someone is asking how long in advance. It's only good for about 90 days. So just keep that in mind when you're applying. Where do you find your high or low on your readiness assessment? So when you go into your exams, it will tell you how you did on that exam. And yes, we are live and you can watch this recording afterwards on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I know we're a couple minutes over. Thank you for sticking it out with me. Remember, we are cheering you on. We are here for you. We are so much more than NCLEX prep. We're so much more than nursing school prep. We are here to walk with you. We care about your success and we're always here to cheer you on. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and we'll see you back on Monday for our next edition of our Next Gen Nurses free webinar series. Take care, guys. Have a lovely weekend.